Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and in today's video we have some new PTR updates, a little bit of class balance. Before we start with the class balance, which you can use the little chapters down here to go to whichever class you care about if that's all you're here for, we have some new information about a Dreambound Augment Rune that will both be in this patch, Renown 18 with the Dream Wardens, and will cost 100,000 gold. This is a lot of evidence towards the idea that has been sort of floating around that patch 10.2 might be the last major patch of Dragonflight, and this might be the last raid of Dragonflight, which the pieces of evidence for this are the Augment Runes have always been, like a permanent Augment Rune has always been on the last raid of an expansion since they've come out. Obviously, there's only been 3 of them, so it's not like insurmountable evidence, but it is definitely something that makes you think that. There's also an AOTC mount and a cutting edge mount from this boss, which the AOTC mounts in particular generally tend to be from end bosses. Not always, but like from end of expansion rather than from mid expansion bosses. So it's pretty plausible. I think that there's a good chance that this is going to be the last raid of the expansion. I didn't think that was likely, like a month ago. And I still don't think it's guaranteed or anything. I know there are some people that are basically taking it as a given right now. I think either way, we probably won't hear anything conclusive until BlizzCon at this point. So unlikely for Blizzard to confirm or deny this. They're probably, packing all of their news together into BlizzCon announcements at this point. But yeah, if they do that, and then let's say the raid comes out, right after BlizzCon, the patch comes out, the raid comes out right after BlizzCon. So the raid comes out in like mid-November or something. And then we have no new content until the next expansion, in theory, which expansions historically have been like August. And then they've kind of crept later into the year with the last 2 because of delays. But let's assume that they claw that back and they get it to August. That's still like a 10-month tier, a 9-month tier, which is quite long. So maybe that would mean they would fit in another Fated season or something, but I don't know. I would be, I guess, a little bit disappointed if 10.2 and this raid was the last of the expansion, especially given the pace they'd been keeping up till now, knowing that, the basically all of Dragonflight content was going to be front. That would basically mean we'd had 3 raids within like a 13-month period, and then no new raids for another 9 months would be something that I don't know. I wouldn't be hugely excited about that, but it does seem pretty likely that that's what's going to happen here. So I don't know. We'll stay tuned to it, but the Augment Rune is definitely makes me think that. Okay, let's take a look at some changes coming in this PTR build. Demon Hunter. So Demon Hunter is getting some nerfs. Havoc Demon Hunter in particular is getting some nerfs. They've removed concentrated sigils. And then in addition to tactical retreat and unbound chaos swapping locations, they are nerfing Burning Hatred Fury generation. Inner Demon is now capped, soft capped at 5. Inertia damage bonus has been reduced to 18 from 20%. And Chaotic Dispositions duplication chance has been reduced to 17 from 21%. So a little bit of slight nerfs for Havoc. Havoc was looking very good in previous builds, so not surprised to see this. Vengeance, they've swapped Dark Glare Boon and Sigil of Misery. And then Fell Devastation's cooldown has been reduced to 40 seconds, was 1 minute. That's actually huge. Firebrand now deals damage every 1 second, dealing the same total damage over its duration, so it just ticks a little bit more frequently. That'll be nice. Actually, that'll be biggest for threat, getting that second tick nice and quick. And Burning Alive now causes it to spread every 1 second, was 2 seconds. That's also going to be nice for getting these spread around. Would be nice with last tier's set bonus as well. Druid. So with Balanced Druid, it looks like they are trying to move a little bit out of AoE and into single target. The 2 set here is going to be buffed, which increases the damage of your Wrath and Starfire. But the 4 piece is being nerfed to reduce the value of your Eclipse damage bonuses, which, of course, this will scale AoE, whereas this is just single target. So single target buff, AoE nerf. Not sure which of these effects is bigger. If I had to guess, this is probably overall a slight nerf even on single target, but definitely a bigger one in AoE. Not sure. I'm not a Moonkin scientist, so don't take that as gospel. Dev Evoker, 3% all ability damage buff and Disintegrate 15% buff. Dev Evoker is an interesting spot. It is the best class that I've seen and not really seen many people considering or thinking about playing a lot of copies in previous builds of PTR. Now, a lot of that was because we were already expecting to stack 4 augmentation evokers. That got broken in a recent build to no longer be like a mandatory number of augmentation evokers, which was a really good change. And now, yeah, I mean, Dev Evoker was already looking sick. Now it's getting even better. I mean, the biggest problem with both Dev and Aug, well, with Dev Evoker is that Aug still exists, and so it's you do have to like, it has to be better than Aug, which is hard, but this is definitely, I mean, this is really good. This spec is really good. Don't sleep on Dev Evoker. Mistweaver. Bounce Back now reduces damage by more and triggers when you receive 15% of your max health and damage was 20%, so it'll trigger more frequently. Does not apply in PvP combat. This effect is an interesting one. I mean, this is a large DR, right? A 40% DR is big, but on the other hand, it triggering when you receive 15% of your max health and damage means that it's unreliable, right? Like, it's hard for this to actually be up. In a fight where there's just constant raid damage, this thing is just likely to proc on CD, right? Depending on what sized damage events there are, in which case, you maybe can't actually rely on it. It'll probably get good value. I mean, a 40% DR for a few seconds that procs, I think it's every 30 seconds you can get this. That's still a lot. Clouded Focus now stacks up to 2 times, was 3, and no longer increases the healing of Vivify before its first application. Vivify and Invigorating Mist healing increased by 12%. And Chi Harmony is now storing 20% instead of 15%. So buffs. Buff. This reads like a nerf, although I know there was some weird stuff with Mistweaver where there was something they didn't actually want to do, but this might not be it. So this reads like a little bit of nerf there. And then, yeah, Bounce Back. I think this is just a monk passive, but I guess maybe it's only being adjusted for Mistweaver, or maybe it's going to affect all monks. I'm not sure. Windwalker. We liked the positive effect that Fangs of the Vermilion Forge, that is the Aberrus set bonus, had on Windwalker single target, and are transferring some of that power from the class set into the base spec as players replace their existing gear. The net effect of these changes is an overall increase in character power. Additionally, we heard player concerns that the effort to play Whirling Dragon Punch wasn't worth the resulting increase in power. We agree and have increased the damage it deals as a result. We've also added additional damage to the 4 set from Emirdrasil, as the cooldown reduction, while fun, was not entirely meeting our goals for additional power granted by the bonus. This is a lot of dev notes for Windwalker. This is nice. So RSK, 10% buff. Fist of Fury, 5% to overall damage, and additional damage to the primary target increased by 10%. Yeah, it makes sense. Again, don't want to make this into too much of a cleave monster. Just the single target was most of where this is needed. Whirling Dragon Punch, 10%. The Aberrus is being nerfed here. The Aberrus set bonuses are being nerfed, but again, they baked this damage into the core set, or to the core class, which is good, right? Again, you would rather have the power be in your core kit rather than in an item that you're going to take off in the tier anyways, so that's nice. And then the 4 set now increases the damage of Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 4%. That's a lot of your damage abilities there, so except for, spinning Crane Kick in AoE situations, 4% to a lot of your big damage buttons. So yeah, some nice buffs here to Windwalker. A spec that already I think was looking situationally pretty strong on several fights in Emirdrasil. It was a pretty common meme spec, like people were memeing on this spec, but I don't know, man. Like, looking at some logs, there's some stuff that you could do on a lot of important moments of the harder fights as Windwalker that made me already think this is something to be looking at. So I would definitely not write off Windwalker either. Windwalker and Dev Evoker both, I think, sleeper already strong specs that got buffed in this build. Shadow Priest. 2 set now triggers at 15% effectiveness, was 20. 4 set is been re-nerfed, so Shadow Crash damage bonus was increased to 100% last build and is now being dropped back down to 50%. And the 4 set now highlights Shadow Word Pain and Shadow Crash at 12 stacks, was 10. That's just a UI thing, so just nerfs to the Shadow set bonuses. I could kind of tell that this was going to happen to Shadow. They came out really hot out of the gates early in testing, and they've kind of gotten now several rounds of nerfs, and I don't know if this is enough to make them bad, but it's definitely the point where, like, man, if they get another set of these, it'll start to feel really rough. And again, there'll be a spec where it's like, much of the power that this, which is always true of Shadow, right? Much of the power they're bringing is that power infusion. Power infusion got nerfed, which is especially nasty for the Shadow Priest because they were the ones that liked that extra duration the most. So, yeah, might be. I think tough times for Shadow here. Maybe still a spec worth playing though. Rogue, they've shuffled around some talent locations. Assassination, they've buffed Leeching Poison to give 10% instead of 5% leech. Crimson Tempest has been nerfed by 5%. Blindside now causes Ambush to replace Mutilate when the effect is triggered. Sanguine Blades consumes less energy, and the damage duplication has been increased. Okay, nice. So this talent is good. That's actually a large buff for Sanguine Blades. Sudden Demise now has a 10-second delay after triggering before being able to trigger again on the same target. And the 4-set is... Ooh, a nice 150% damage increase to Envenomous Explosion if it only hits one target, which that's good. Anytime there are these set bonuses that do like AoE damage, it sometimes feels really bad because you're like, okay, my set bonus, is so weak on single target, and this will help. This will help that. Outlaw, 10% increase to Sinister Strike damage. Audacity now causes Ambush to replace Sinister Strike when the effect is triggered, and Killing Spree damage is increased by 25%. Interesting. I don't know if this is 100% true for Outlaw. I know there were times and builds where you weren't supposed to ambush even when you could, and you were still supposed to Sinister Strike. I wonder if that's true with any current builds, and this is actually a nerf in the name of quality of life. Subtlety, eviscerate damage increased by 8%. Exhilarating Execution now causes finishing moves to heal for more, 5% instead of 3%. Shadowed Finishers, shadow damage value has been increased to 30%, was 25%. And Shuriken Tornado, Shuriken Storms, triggered by Shuriken Tornado, no longer generate bonus combo points from Shadow Blades. Okay, so I mean, that's -1 combo point, right? In some cases, not a big deal. Shaman, Ellie Shaman. Fix an issue where Splintered Elements was incorrectly granting you 4% extra haste than intended when activating against a single target. Elemental Blast can now refresh and extend the duration of haste, crit, and mastery effects up to 130% of the base 10-second duration, but will still prefer to apply a buff you don't already have. That's actually going to be really nice if you are overloading them a lot, to be able to roll multiple of these and then start extending them instead of having it work however it used to work. Fixed an issue, bunch of fixed issues here. We're further beyond bug fixes, basically. 4-set, fixed an issue where the 4-set bonus is being activated without having the 4-set equipped. That's good. That's usually how that should work. Fixed an issue where subsequent lava bursts after Primordial Wave were causing Splintered Elements talents to activate. And then fixed an issue where lava bursts benefiting from Molten Charge from the 4-set bonus were dealing 80% of expected damage rather than 100% of expected damage. So I assume this is a bug fix nerf and a bug fix buff here. And yeah, okay, interesting. Enhancement. Fix an issue where Splendid Elements was incorrectly granting you extra haste than intended when activating a single target. And Resto, the 4-set, now increases the healing of Riptide by 20%, was 15%. So a little buff there. Always happy to see Riptide getting better as well. That's one of my pet spells, so glad to see that. Warlock. Aflock. Soul Eater's Gluttony has been redesigned. Soul Rock cooldown reduction is reduced by... Soul Rock cooldown is reduced by 15 or 30 seconds. Fix an issue where Umberfire Kindling would only increase the damage of Cedar Corruption to the main target. That's big. Demonology. Doombrand is more consistent with summoning a Doom Fiend. It now has a chance to summon a Doom Fiend when dispelled rather than only when detonated. It is only applied when consuming a demonic core. Immutable Hatred should no longer be lost if your Felguard is out of range. Instead, we will use it as soon as he is in range. And fix an issue where it was still functioning as its previous iteration. And then Destro fixed an issue where Dimensional Cinders would benefit twice from crits. Warrior Fury. Developer's note. The previous design of Reckless Abandon was influencing builds and rotations too heavily, encouraging players to focus on either Bloodthirst or Raging Blow at the expense of the other. We want Fury Warriors to use both abilities regularly, so we're changing the design slightly so it only affects your rotation choice immediately after using Rampage to open up more build options. Reckless Abandon now only empowers your next one Bloodthirst or Raging Blow, was 2, but the bonus damage has been doubled. All right, that's nice. I mean, that actually is nice, right? Like, that's good. That's, Fury and Warrior, DPS Warrior in general got several, like, nerf slash bug fix slash rotation changes in previous builds. And then there was kind of like but there's more coming, right? This is not a lot, but this seems like a nice little change here for making the rotation better. Then a PvP change to nerf Killing Spree. And some UI and accessibility changes. You can now choose between different background parchment colors to improve readability in the quest pane. Cool. A new celebratory pop-up will appear when you unlock a Great Vault slot reward or upgrade the reward of a slot. Cool. And in the reputation pane, major factions are now grouped together at the top of the list. Cool. I suspect that this change here of a pop-up when you unlock a Great Vault slot or upgrade the reward of a slot, I suspect that this change is going to be responsible for like 10% more keys getting done next season than otherwise would have been done or something. Little changes like this often go a long way towards people's behavior. Then there were also some changes to the raid. This is the data mine changes, a little bit uglier of a way to look through things. I don't have too much particular to point out here. It just looks like they are reworking whatever this boss is named. Nimue, whatever the name of this boss is. Some rework landing on this boss. And then Farrak also has been, some of the mechanics on Farrak got changed. Cool wording of different abilities in here. Again, nothing specific to focus on. There is one more round of raid testing coming out this Friday. We're retesting Ajira the Cruel, which there were some changes to that as well. The big stun mechanic is no longer a stun, it's just a soak. Volcaros is being retested because it didn't function for most of its last testing. And the Dragon Riding boss is also being retested. A lot of tuning changes came to that. Although notably, still no Nimue mythic changes or mythic testing here yet. So that boss might just go untested on mythic, or maybe they'll add another day of testing, maybe next week or something. I probably will not make more videos on these. I guess I'll probably make a Volcaros video, but I probably won't do a new one on Ajira or Tindril. Maybe I will, but not 100% sure what the plan is going to be on those. Anyways, hope you've enjoyed these videos. Let me know what you think in the comments below about all of the topics and the speculation on potentially it being the last raid of the expansion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.